Okay, so now we'll see into the project. So that's clean. I can code. That's the VS Code. So I was saying, this is like how VGV kind of like create your Flutter app for you. So, and if you just open like the project structure, which is lib, you have the app, right, which is the starting of this material app stuff, and and then you have this like main development, main production, main staging. These are like your entry points of the application. So it doesn't have like much code, just bootstrap. Now this bootstrap is like the powerhouse, I would say, because this is like where you do every setup you need in the application. So if for example you want to use like different base URL for different flavors, yeah, you can actually do that setup. Yeah, sorry around there, and maybe your Firebase in it, handling errors and the likes. So everything will be inside this like this bootstrap, right? So it's like the powerhouse. And here you see like things are like very very lean, right? So just bootstrap, blah 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 blah. So usually we'll have this our run app here, right? But if you look here, you will see that this is the code here, right? So as you can see from the comment, and another reason why I like it is that I kind of like give you this read me, right? So all you have to do is just enhance it, right? So we kind of like comes with this read me, and then like you don't even have to worry about it. So compared to like your usual way of like creating or running Flutter create. So it actually give us like this counter app with the qubit, right? Because it uses block. But I'll be cleaning this up. So let's go. Alright, so permit me, I'll just delete all this, right? And then I'll paste, right? And then I'll explain. So I'll just click on delete and then move to trash. Alright, so all that is gone. Alright, so let's do the same for like test stuff. And then
Sorry to interrupt. Okay, so someone said this, so that is not possible. Can you do this well?
I can't really hear
And
you. You said someone said what? Oh, can I zoom in? Oh, okay. Can you guys see okay now? Hello, can you guys see okay now? Alright, great. So, like I said, I'll be doing some copy and pasting. So, in order to save much time, and I'll just do that now. So, this is my lib folder. So I'll just copy and paste all this, right? And if you look at this folder structure now, unlike before, we just have lib and then we have feature and then we have like bootstrap, main, blah 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 blah. But in this case now we're having like lib and then src. This is not like from plain architecture, just like a personal preference. So I like to put like all my stuff inside like source folder, right? And then I have app similar to what we have before, and then this is it, right? I like using the screen util. Um, and these are like the localization and the supported lookups. So the thing that is you'll be thinking like you don't have any use case for like maybe localization or you don't even have any reason to use it. But personally, I like putting all my string in the en file. So like if let's say for example, peradventure like you want to add an additional language later on in the future, you don't even have to worry about looking at your strings and everything because right from the beginning, I'll just open this L10 N and then open my app en.rb and I'll just put all my strings here, like all the strings that I want to use in the application. It will just reside here. So moving on. So we have this app folder and we have this app.dat. I'm sure everybody understands this code. And in my router, I use routes, right? And the router, right? I'll have something like this. And you can call to me like anytime if you want me to repeat anything, right? So let's make this interactive. All right, so that brings me like my next folder, which is core. So in my core, I have my constant, I have my enums, I have my arrow, extensions, enterprise, networks, and teams, blah 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 blah. So this is like the most interesting part. This utils, right? So in this utils, I have like my ether.dat. So I was using this DATS package, and then I did like an interview, and the person like gave me a feedback and be like, if the only reason why I'm using that is to use this ether, like why don't I just create a class for it? And I was like, that's good. And then I came up with like this whole thing, right? So, because this is like what that does. Like you can either it handles your stuff and then asks you to like return two data types, which is left and right in this case. And I have my formatter, like I have my. I was kind of like these are stuff that we use in like most of our project, if you agree, right? So I personally work on like finance app most times, so I have the for all this stuff, and these are like input formatter, right? So formatting your numbers, and this is like the use case. Like every use case that we have in our app using plain architecture, we implement this use case. So this use case like have a type and then a param. So this param is like the parameter to like the use case, and then we have this type, and then that's override this call method. Right, for every function that we have in that, or let me say every method have like this call method, right? But we don't do something like let's say I have a function and I say dot call at the end of that function. We just kind of like open and close bracket. um so that's like what we are trying to like accomplish using this use case, right? So use case, and then it's override this call, right? And if your use case doesn't, judging from like the way this use case is like created, you have to like give it a type for the parameter. So even if you don't have any parameter, like your use case doesn't use any parameter, you have to pass in this no params object, which extends equitable for object equality. So that's that for teams, and then everybody know teams now. Like what's supposed to do there. So yeah, and then we have networking. In my networking, I have API endpoints. So this is like where all my API endpoints kind of like reside. So this is like where all my API kind of like resides, right? So I have this RPMV dot stuff because I love to like use EMV file, so that way I can keep secrets and all in there. And this HTTP override, I kind of have it here for some weird reason, right? So there was a time actually I was using this HTTP endpoint, and then like that's not supported by excuse me. Okay, that's not supported by iPhone, so I kind of have this like self-signed certificate here. And then we have interceptors. This is like really good, right? I have TI interceptor. Now in this interceptor, I do a whole lot of things. For example, on request I log my request, right? So that way I can see what is going on in the terminal, right? In my debug console, say. And then on response, I also do the same. And on error, so this is like for my login. Like I have a login interceptor, and then I have a token interceptor. Now this token makes use of like the user storage service, and I just kind of like get the token from there and then inject it into like every request that I'm making, right? And so on and so forth. So how many of us like have been using this interceptor like for a while? I'm sure most people have. Okay, so that's that for networking, and then I have helpers. These are like helper function. Nothing is here, like nothing for that. But the use case of this would be like if I have a function that that I'll be calling like in a whole lot of places, I'll just kind of like create them here, and then so that way I can like use them. And then I have extensions. Oh wow! So extensions, like I really like them a lot. They're like my go-to. So okay, so I'll just be stimulated. So the most interesting one here will be this repository extension. So I also wrote this myself. So and then this is like just this is the code, right? It has either, remember we are using either to like return a failure or like the read object that we want. So I can notice that like in clean architecture we write this line of code, this particular line of code like multiple times, right? So I mean it's just repetitive. So why not have an extension that we can just make request and then to just solve that issue for us. And then I have my error, exception, and I have enums, and so that's everything in core. And then in DI, dependency injection is like very very important. So I have this DI and I have a breakdown, which is clients. So this is like where all my clients will be. I have data source, I have external. This is like DIO. I have repository. This is where my repository live. I have service locator, like I said, the disaster storage service and then my local storage service. So for local storage, I used to use Hive, right? Because it comes with like this AES 256 algorithm, and it's kind of like hard to crack. It's not like it's not impossible to break, but I mean it's hard. So at least we just want to make it hard. And then I have my feature, right? This is like where my feature will be. I have own feature, and so this is like the clean architecture of it. So all these things are just stuff that I added over time, right? So just to make my life easier. But for clean architecture, like every feature, like I have data, domain, and presentation layer. So the data layer, essentially, is where you have your client. For example, if you have a client, because I'm using retrofit, and then I have data source. This would be where all your data sources will like reside. So if you have like technically we'll have like maybe remove data source, local data source. Remove data source will be like communicating to the outside world, while local data source will be like saving and getting from our local storage. And then this will be where all my models will be. So this will be all my where my models will be. I used to use freeze and just realize. So and then this is like repository. But the interesting part is this: we have repository here, and then we also have repository in the domain layer. So, but the repository in the domain layer is like the abstract of the repository, while the repository in the data layer is like the concrete implementation of it. And then we have use cases. So use cases are like every scenario you have in your app. A use case would be um a use case would be like getting user details. That's a use case. A use case would be updating user details, right? Performing your CRUD operation really. So that's a use case. And then we have presentation layer. So in the presentation layer, we have a block, we have pages, right? So a feature might have like more than one page, right? And then we have widgets. Now the interesting part of this is this. Now we have widgets here, and under shared, you see that we also have widgets. Now, what's the difference between the widgets in the feature layer and then the widgets in like the shared? So the shared widgets are like widgets that we use across features, right? I mean, it's not pertaining to like one feature. So we cannot use it across, right? While the widgets under the feature layer is the one that's like pertaining to that feature alone. I mean, it's not like we're using any of those widgets in another feature, right? So that way we have them under the feature. So we keep everything pertaining to that feature there. So are we following so far? Hello? Are we following so far?
Yes, we're following, but then can you slow down? Because things are too fast.
Can I what?
Can you slow down a bit? The things are too fast, but then we're
Oh,
following.
okay. Oh, all right. Makes sense. I'm sorry about that. Um. Okay. So now let's dive in. So again, like I've already like wrote some code. I'll just be copying and pasting. Okay, so that way, we don't waste time here. Now I'll explain. Um. Okay. So let me just copy and paste. Um, Flutter project. Okay, interesting. So I forgot I made changes. Okay, sir. I forgot how many changes to this. So I changed this part. So because I changed the location of like the what's it called, the localization. So I'll just copy that as well. Okay. So and as a free giveaway, right? I used to make use of like Makefile. So I don't know. Has any one of you like used Makefile? So this is what it looks like, guys. So now we can just say make init, and then we initialize the project. So you can see it creates like this env.development with staging for us.
Please,
So
what does Makefile does, please?
okay, so basically, you know, all these comments that that we kind of have that we used to like type every time. For example, Flutter Popcat, right? Yeah, we have like Flutter clean. We have like make like this runner, this build runner command. So like in order to like just streamline all the whole process of like you typing that run, build runner, build dash d all the time. You can just have a make file, right? It's just like where like command sleeve, and then you give all those commands a tag like init, get, fresh, and runner, like this is runner, that's run, blah blah blah, and then wash, and then apk, right? You can have like as many commands that you want in here. So, but my own use case would be like, you know, the init, which is like for the very first time, if you want to like initialize the project, I just call this, and then you can just see the command. It says echo app URL blah blah into env.development, env.production, and env.staging, and then it runs Flutter clean, Flutter popget, that run build runner, and we're good, right? So for Flutter popget, just like make get and then fresh. So like all the comments that you know you use like often, you can just put them in your big file, and that kind of like, you know, streamline the whole thing for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or
But
what?
you just create the file there and put those codes, or is there any way you can achieve the way you achieve that?
Can you come again, please? I don't get your
You
question.
just create the file and write this make file, or is it from the pub.dev?
Oh, I create the make file.
Oh.
So I created make, and then I just put all this in there. So I create the make file, and then I have all this. It's something like you can also like improve upon like over time, you know, based on the use case. Okay, so the build is like the now let's get rid of these errors, right? So let's get rid of these errors. And that's it. So I'm following so far. All right. So this is what like my local story looks like. So I have initdb, save preferences, get preferences, get preferences, and I have like my implementation of it. So I use I, so like I said earlier, right? And this is what my storage looks like. My user storage service. So I have like save token, get token, and then collect storage. So the chef token, like chef get the token, the get token, and then the chef token, just save the token, and so that way I can inject it in my interceptor. So I don't have to like worry about passing the bear token every time to like every request that I make. Right? It kind of like handles that for me. So that's the use case of interceptor. All right. So moving on, I would copy this. I'll copy a picture and then put our view. So I mean, is familiar with what's it called, retrofit. I've used retrofit before. Anyone? So has anyone used retrofit before? Okay, good. All right. So apparently, how we used to have let's say for example, we have this gallery point, right? And then once we get a list of images, and then we have like a URL, and how we would do something like http.get, and then you manually do all this code here, right? All this code here, you manually write all this code, right? So with retrofit, you don't even have to worry about all these things. All you have to do is okay, state the type of request. So in this case, the type of request is a get request, right? And then the return type, we are expecting a list of image, right? And then it has a query which is the current page that we are, right? So in my case, the page is let me show you so this is the API will be using, right? This Laurent image, whatever. And let me show you. So here, these are the image, right? That's ID or door width, blah blah blah, and blah. And it just kind of gives you a whole list of images that you can use. I mean, just for this thing. So with retrofit, I mean, it just kind of just do this apps REST API. Yeah. And you about this. So and then to generate this your .g.dat file for you, and you don't have to worry about manually writing your dia.get or http.get. So I mean, it's kind of just taking care of that for you. And then in our data source, now this is the relationship between the client and the data source, right? All right, wait one sec. Let's rewind. So let me start from the domain, right? So we start from inside out. So from the domain layout, we have repository, and we know that we only have one function or one method that we need, which is get image, right? So we want to get images, and it wants keep loading there. So this is what the function looks like. So it is a mixing. The reason why I have a mixing is because it's supposed to be an abstract class, right? But I have I have one, what's it called, just one function, and then I'm using what's it called, I'm using very good analyzer, so it kind of tell you that, oh, this is wrong, so you should use mixing, since you have one stuff there. But that's just by the way. So I have future, and then it's expecting a type of the class that I showed us before here. All right, so left and right. So my left side being a failure, right? This is the failure. So this is also a class that I create myself. So this is a failure, and you see we have server failure. You can also have something like cache failure, right? And so this is the left side, and then on the right side we're expecting our real object, which is a list of image model, and then get image. And we have just one use case in this case, and that use case is just get image use case, and then it's implement use case, like I said earlier. Yeah. And then the return type is a list of image model, and then the parameter is an integer. So because you want to know the current index at which you are fetching the image. And it doesn't actually do anything. In this place, we are injecting our, what's it called? repository, yeah, and we're making use of that repository, and then we are calling the get image on it. So this is the get image, right? So and that's like everything you have to worry about in your domain. So do we understand so far? Do we understand?
Yes, sorry, please can you show us that image model, please?
Sure. So the image model is being generated with Freest, right? At Freest image model. I'm sure like everybody here uses Freest. I mean, if you don't, you should definitely look it out. I mean, it makes your life easier. So I have image model, and this is like the image model. ID, auto, width, height, and URL from here. Yeah, ID, auto, width, image, URL. So I don't actually need a download URL because I'm not downloading the image. I just want to display them. So if I need a download URL, I would also like, oh, I haven't added stuff, but I don't need it anyway. That's so. But this is like the object, yeah. And then this is like my model. So another thing I used to use is this, right? Now I have this image model, right? I mean, it's daunting to be writing all this thing like over and over again. I'm sure everybody will agree, right? So I have this I have something that I use. It is called quick type. Quick. Where is it? I don't have it saved though. Yeah. So it's just app.quicktype.io, and then I'll just show us the use case. So if I just grab all this, if I grab all this stuff and then copy it and then put it there, and then I can just change the settings. Maybe I don't want no type safety, or I don't want type to make properties final. I mean, you can change this to like whatever you want, right? And I just kind of like give me the freezed implementation of it, and I just copy and then I paste in my code. You see, easy, right? So let me just paste that here. Prayer. It's not pasting. All right, so this is my image model. So that brings like, I mean, with this we are already done with our domain layer, because when we already have like our abstract class for repository, and then we have our use case, then we're done with our domain layer. Then now let's talk about the data layer, right? In the data layer we have clients, like I've explained this already, and then we have data source, right? So I like to like so again, we have the abstract for the data for the data source, and then we have the concrete implementation of data source. Now the data source like interact with the client, yeah, and then we inject the client into the data source, yeah, and then we have our and then we override, yeah, and we just call like client.get images, and then we pass in the page because it is required. We want to know what page we're currently at, and so that is all for like this data source. So now the interesting part here is like the repository. We have the abstract implementation of the repository here, and then this is the concrete implementation, right? Gallery repository implementation implements gallery repository, and then here we want to like inject our gallery remove data source. Now you see the way we are like injecting. So this is like why it's like easy for us to test, because we can mock each and every one of these injections, and then now it's like very, very easy for us to write unit tests. So yeah, I ingest like the repository and the remove data source into the repository, and in the repository normally we will do something like this in our repository. So I'll copy this out, and I will have try, because we want to like handle exception. So in clean architecture, all exception, like all your try and catch and everything will be inside your repository. I mean, you don't even have to like bring your try and catch to your block. I mean, your block doesn't even have to like be aware of like, okay, maybe you are writing try and catch. But then the block will be aware of the error because we are using ether. So that way the block will handle the left side and on the right side. If the block like get the left side, something went wrong, right? And okay, the blocks know something went wrong, then we can handle that use case. And then if the block actually get what it's expecting, then we know yes, all things are good, and then we can move on, right? So we'll have them like this try, and then we'll say return if I can type. All right. And I'll say we'll say something like this: final result is equals to await, and I have async. And I will say return right and then results. And I'll have our cache. We can say on server exception cache. And then in this case, you can like return server failure and hit that message, and then we can have our final cache statement like something like this cache, and then we can return left and then server failure or whatever failure you want to return from here. So, and we can have like a generic message, like something went wrong or blah blah blah, whatnot. Now you see, compared to like this one single line of code that we have now, this one single line turns into how many lines? Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It turns into like 10 lines of code, right? I mean, that's crazy. So imagine we like have like in our repository we have like 10 methods, right? So that means we'll have to write all these things 10 times. Oh man, that would be crazy, right? And then it's like takes a whole lot of time. So given this like this use case, I come up with this make request. So make request is like is an extension, right? Is an extension on feature of type T, right? So what a make request does is like is like pretty easy. I mean, it's not something crazy. So we just have like make request, and then that this code that we have here, I just kind of move that into here, right? Using generics. So because I know, okay, the left side will be like we're returning the feature of type a feature of type failure, and then the right side on the other hand is what I don't know. So then it's represented by T generics. And you see here final data is equal to await this, and then on sources you call this then I return the right. Now the reason why I have this on sources the call is, let's say you want to like log in a user, and then after performing all these things, that after getting your request you want to like save your token somewhere so that you can reuse the token, right? So this on sources kind of like expose that to you, and then you can like, okay, it gives you the data, and then you can do whatever you want with the data, right? And then it also have this on failure. So let's say like you want to do something on failure. Let's say maybe forever. I don't start like any use case you might have to like use like on failure, maybe clean something or tell user something or whatever. And then you have this, like this on failure. So that is that. But usually this is like what most people do. I mean, just do try and then on and then you cache, right? But this is what I do. So do you understand so far? Do you understand so far? Okay.
We are getting
Okay. So now we talked about the data layer and then the domain layer, and then now onto the presentation layer. So For this, I mean, it's just one single use case. So why use a qubit? So I can use a block. So for this, I just use, well, why use a block when I can use a qubit? I mean, so for here, I just like use what's it called? I use a qubit. So here I have like if state is pressing or is at end, and I want to return. By the way, we can use something called depends for this, right? So that way it doesn't even copy stuff. I'm using a qubit. And then we have emit state dot copy. We want to like notify the user of like of our view state, and then we say okay, we want to like emit a load instead, right? So that our users are aware. And then we have like final result, and then we have await get image use case. Remember, this is get image use case, right? Get image use case, and I is calling that get image use case. Where am I? So yeah, we are calling the get image use case, and we are passing the current index. That means the index that we currently have. So like I said, like every function that we have kind of have this dot call, right? But we are making use of a class, so we want to like make that class act as a function, so that we don't have to say like maybe get image use case dot something before we actually make the request. So just want that I say get image use case, and that's it. So we want to like act like as a function. So now we have like get image use case, and then we have our state, and then we have results. Now this is the interesting part. So usually you'll be noticing that okay, we're just calling this get image use case. We don't have something like try or cache here. So what about if something goes wrong? How do we handle that? Now remember I told you that in our repository we already have our try and cache in the repository. That's it. So we already have our try and cache in this repository, so we don't need to have it in our qubit or block or if you are using Riverport, you don't have to have it in like your this thing. So that what we will just do, we'll just like go fold, because this is like the result is of type either, right? So it's either a failure or a list of images. Then this either exposes a function to us that is called fold. Then on that fold we can handle like the failure or like the sources case. Now in the failure state, we want to like just emit the failure and tell you that oh something went wrong or whatever failure we are getting back from this failure class, right? That's failure message. And then if we actually get an image back, we want to like do something like okay, view state. I mean our view state is sources, right? We have the successful state, and then current index, we're incrementing the current index, and then we have is at end. We want to know okay, are we at the end of the images? Can we get more image or not? So here we have like image ends like and then we have our image. So here we are like I know everybody know this spread operator. So, and that is all. And then we are resetting the view state back here to like idle. So do we understand the qubit so far?
Yeah, everything is clear.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Well,
And yeah, but
okay. I have a question regarding the data, sorry, regarding the retrofit implementation.
okay.
I didn't see, because usually you have to do some kind of manual cleaning up of the API response so that you can get the value that you want.
That you
So
want.
yeah, so how do we clean up the response in this place from the API?
Okay, makes sense. Now, usually, like if you do something like API, like http.get or dir.get, you will get back like a JSON in form of map, and then you have to like turn that map into like a dart object, right? So now
Exactly.
with freeze, you don't have to do it. All you have to do is- Now we know we want to make a get request to this like to this part, not to this endpoint, because it's not a full endpoint, it's just a part, right? To make a get request to this part, right? And then we are setting the limit here to 100, so that is how we know if we are at the end of the images, so we can still fetch more images. And then we have like future. Now from this endpoint, what are we expecting? We are expecting a list of image model, right? And then what is the query parameter we are passing to the get endpoint? We're passing like a page query parameter, and then we are passing in the page. Now, if you just do this and then you run your, let's say, make runner, and then we do make runner, it will generate gallery client.g for you. Now, this generated file would have this. Let me just walk you through it. Now we have get image, we have int image. Now, if we are not using retrofit, this is what our class would look like, right? And then we have query parameters. In this case, we have just page, and then we are passing on the page. We have our header, right? We have data. In this case, we don't have any data, so it's null. And then it's a get request, right? And then we have list of images. This is what we are getting back. Now, then it goes like all these compose and all. And then you see here we have await dio.fetch. And then it's a list of dynamic, because it's a list. We know it's a list, right? But it's a list of map, string, and dynamic, right? And then we have options. And we have this try and catch result of data.map. You see, this is where we are doing the cleaning up. But it's just that you're not the one doing the cleaning up. The retrofit kind of like handles that for you. It allows you to like focus on more important part of the application. I'm not saying this is not important, but at least, I mean, this is like a redundant work. It's something like we do on a daily basis. So why keep on repeating it? Do you understand?
Yeah. That's clear. That's clear.
So, exactly. This is like where it does the cleanup, and then it says map and then image model dot from basic IAS. And then it's kind of like call to reach the end. It returns staff value to us, and we're good.
Okay.
All right. Any
Good,
other question?
Yeah. In the either use case where you use right and left, I usually use this in lowercase right and lowercase left. Is there any difference to using the sentence cased versions?
Oh, wait. In the qubit, you mean?
No, was it the data's where you made the return right and return left?
Oh, okay. Let me see. All right. It
That was
depends. It depends on how you create your ether, right? In my case, if I show you the code for the ether class, yeah, so I have L and R, and then it has to be it's case sensitive because it's a class. I mean, a class should start with a capital letter. So this is left, and then this is right.
okay.
So in my own
Okay.
use case, it is case sensitive because I created the left and right class, right? And this is like that. This is what the full method does. It's just bunch of if and else statements, as you can see.
Oh,
So
okay. I think the difference was that I used to use the. Okay.
Yeah, I believe you used to
Thank
use even the DAX
The
package.
DAX package.
Yeah, it's like capital letter L as well. I believe last time I used it. It's been a while though.
Yeah.
The last time I used it was like capital letter.
Yeah. The package provides some reference. The lowercase left. It just references the capital case left too. Yeah, but I think that was just to make it look should I say cleaner or something.
Yeah, I get that makes sense. I'm using it in a while, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's all my questions.
okay. All right. So, do anyone have questions so far before we move to the presentation? Before we continue the presentation there, any other questions?
I just want to ask that this feature is like just like a mechanism for Jira ACCP, right?
You said what?
I said this feature is like I said it's just like an alternative for Duo and ACCP.
No. It's not an alternative. It still makes use of DO. Now, if you look at here, you are injecting the DO into like the client. So what it kind of does is like it automates this stuff for you. Like instead of you manually writing your dir.get, dir.post, and delete or whatever, right? Please confirm if you can see my screen. All right, great. So where were we? All right, so I was
So
kind of
that
like
was, yeah, explicit.
okay. So now if we don't have like something like okay, so it still makes use of DIO, right? As you can see from here, we are injecting DIO into this like gallery client, and then it takes like the base URL, right? And then and it's kind of like takes all this stuff, right? This your function here, and then it creates like the normal way we use like write like our get request using dir.get. We pass in the query parameter. In this case, we have page, and then passing like the page index, and then you await that, and then you get the response, and then you do like some formation, and then you get your list of image model. Correct? Now with DI, you don't even have to worry about all that. So all you have to do is like just follow this template, and voila, it will like generate it for you here, and then everything will be like managed here. So that's it. So it's a package on pop.dev, by the way. You can like, let's see, retrofit. So so this is like the retrofit package here, right? So it says like add generator to your dev dependency. So we need like so this is retrofit, and then we have retrofit generator in our dev dependency, and then define and generate your API. You see abstract class. This is tags, a list of tags, and then this is our task class, and this is all you need to do to like to like make the magic happen. So in this case, you have REST API, and we have base URL. But in our case, we don't have base URL, right? So, and the reason why we don't have base URL is because this is where our base URL resides. Let me show you. So if you go into this DI, which is dependency injection, and then we have external, and then here we have base URL as like a base option to like the DIO. We have like base URL, and then we have app.env.base URL. By the way, this app.env is a class, yeah, app.env, and then static, and then you get from the env file. So I'm sure like most of us already use this flutter.cmv, or maybe if it is not .env, maybe like this environment variable. All right. So I believe someone. Okay. Any question? Okay. Somebody has their hand raised. All right. Can you speak?
Yeah, please. I wanted to ask. So let's say, for example, the API response body is returning a list instead of a map. How can we differentiate it? Or maybe it's returning a map. How can we like let your clients know that it is going to collect a list? I don't know if you get my point.
All right. Makes sense. So makes sense. That's a good question. Now let's say let me come here again. That's a good question. So now let's say we have, in this case, I said I'm expecting a list, and then kind of like just give me the list, right? So now let's say like instead of me expecting a list, and then if you look at the code that is generated, we'll see that it already says okay, this is result of data, and then it says it's not equals to null, like this is like this null operator, and then it says dot map. But what happens if this data that is returned here is not a list, right? That's your question, right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes, exactly.
yeah, but I will tell you that it will always be a list, and this is why. Now, if we look at into what I showed earlier, which is the interceptor, right? And inside this DI interceptor, we have something very, 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 very funny here, right? So, which is, yeah, data piercer interceptor. Now, you see in this data piercer, it cannot make your life easy, right? Now, for we all know that like this will be our response, a map, and then inside the map will have data, and then inside that data will actually have what we actually need, right? In most cases. Now, this kind of like handles that for us already. We know, okay, from the response we want to like we have a DIO response that is supposed to be returned, yeah. Um yeah, response of type dynamic from DIO. Now, what we do is this: in our interceptor, we intercept that request, and then we say, okay, now this request is a map of string dynamic, right? But then we don't care about every other details in that map. We don't care about like so long as it's like a so we don't care about the status code or whatever. Like in this use case, now the only thing we care about is the data. Now we just say, okay, response the data as map of string dynamic, and then at the back we get the data. So now this data we are sure is going to be a list. So that's why from here we don't have to care. Like we don't have to care anymore, because we know that we have done our due diligence, and then we know that we are actually going to get a list back.
Okay, yeah, I understand now.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other question? All right, so no question. Moving on. So I've explained like the qubit, and this are we have image details widgets, we have image dialog, and then we have shrink table. So the shrink table is like it's a built in, like it's an animation. This shrink, and then it pops when you click on when you have on top. So let me just fix this error. So we have let's just remove this so we can run the project at least. Font size. Another thing to note is this. Ah, fog light is gone. Okay. Let me stop sharing. I'll share again. One sec, please. Pardon the interruption. Share. All right, guys. Pardon the interruption. So they kind of like took the light. All right. So can you see my screen? Hello, can you get? Okay, great. So we have our image details. We have image dialog. Let's just fix this import. So, and we'll be noticing something like dot radius dot font size. It's actually coming from like the Flutter screen utility package, right? And I actually gonna like create an extension for it. So instead of having dot w, dot h, dot sp, dot r, I think I'll like create like an extension, and then just kind of like changing what it means really. So instead of dot w, I have dot width, dot h, I have dot height, dot xp, I have dot font size. I mean, this kind of makes sense to me more than having dot xp. You understand? And then dot r, I have dot radius. So that will kind of like make the code much more easier to read. You know, having something like dot radius, I mean, it's much more readable than having something like dot r, or having something like dot font size is much more readable than having something like dot sp. All right, so let's fix this import, and Flutter pop add. cache network image. Okay. All right. So that's it. Let's fix this or that issue. The radius is processing, and then apply to. So the app that is coming from here, which we don't have .env, so apply to, apply to apply to apply to. All right. So this is also generated if we like if anybody one of us has worked with localization before. So it's like it's generated as well. Like anytime you run Flutter build, not build rather, but anytime you're trying to like run the project or rerun, then we have something like this. And I can say final app strings is just to context.l. Yeah, this looks more readable. Alright, so let's try to run the project so that we can see the whole thing in action. Project to work. Alright, grabs. Okay. Alright, so let's try to run the project. But before we do, there's something important that we need to do. So which is in this env file, we need to actually change this page URL, right? So the actual page URL that we'll be using. Yeah, that one. Let's say okay. All right, so as I was saying, we need to like change the base URL. So like the base URL we'll be using, and that's let's say so, and it should be like the base URL. Yeah. So if you're working with like some companies that have like different base URL, let's say like for production they have a different base URL, for staging they have a different base URL. I mean this is how you kind of just handle that using like env and then using flavors, right? So these are like the benefit that we get from like creating our projects using very good CLI. Um so let me run the project. Let's say let's go back. Anyway. So this is the time that we start to pray. We start praying like okay, everything should work fine. Right? So, all right, let's give you some time. Depending when this is loading, we could you can ask any question. Do anybody have any question? All right, Lukman.
Alright, sir, please can you go through the bootstrap file again? Can you do the explanation again while the app is still running?
Sure. Let's see. So we have this
Alright.
bootstrap. I hope you can see my screen properly. So we have this bootstrap, right? And then we have this is the on change for like the block, right? So we want to like be logging our on change, from the current state to like the next state. And then this is like on error. So we want to like log the error. So if you're using something like Firebase Crashlytics or what's this thing? But like tracking error, right? For handling error, like there's this Firebase stuff for like handling error. You can actually do that here as well. You just be like, okay, for any error that happen, I want to like pass it in here. So and then we have this is the bootstrap itself. So here we have like a feature or widget of type builder, and then we have our environment. Now this is where, remember I said like we're doing some like environment setup in our bootstrap. So this is like the on error, right? This is where we handle like all the error. In this case, we are just logging. So in case we want to like log somewhere else, like let's say we want to log remotely, that function will be inside these details. And then we have our observer, the block observer, which is this app block observer that we create here. Right? So which is just doing two things. It's just logging the error and then it's logging the state on change. And then we have our widgets, Flutter binding, and show initializer. So in this case, we don't want landscape, we just want like portrait up. And then so in this line we initialize our locator. In its locator. You see, we initialize our locator here, right? And the next thing we do is like we have .env.load, and then of loading like our env, we have like 3 env files here. We have development, production, and staging. So but we want to only load one sec please. So but we want to only load one env at a given time, right? So let's say for development, we want to load the environment or development for production, blah 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 blah. And this is the hive. If you are using hive, you know that you have to say hive.initialize further. And then this is our local storage where we are initializing our local storage here in its DB. So these are like hive stuff, and then we have our run app build runner. Now, if you notice something here, the bootstrap is actually taking in two parameters: the build app and then the environment. Now, this is what our environment looks like. Our environment is an enum, right? Development, environment, production, and staging, and then it takes like the env file. So for staging, we have env.staging, env.production, and then for like development, we have env.development, right? So that is like it's like very easy for us to, we can just say. So that is like very easy for us to, we can just say environment dot env file name, and that's everything we have with our, what's it called? That's everything we have that's everything we have in our bootstrap. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so unable to find directory prospect. Oh, we don't have images. Let me copy that. Um, one sec. Hey, and again, I don't even talk about the assets, by the way. So, not here. Delete. It's too trash. So I also have like a way of setting up my asset. For asset, I used to have assets. I used to have images. I used to have SVGs. I used to have icons. I used to have icons. I used to have fonts, and so on and so forth. But in this case, we are just using the image, which is like logo.image. Um, and let's run. Once, I'll stop sharing and I'll share again. All right. Can you see my screen? Please comment if you can see my screen. Okay, great. So that's what like this prospect is complaining about. I don't have all these images, all these assets. I have fronts, icons, images, and images. So we can like stop the project. And also another thing we don't have is this DI, right? We don't have any dependency stuff right at the moment, which is like very very important because the only thing we have is just user storage and local storage. But then we need to have like a repository. We have to like register our repository. We have to register our data source and we have to register our. So if you permit me, I'll just copy um, I'll just copy the code. So starting with the data source, and let's fix the input, and then to repository, and we'll fix the input, and then we have use cases. And then we'll fix the inputs. Okay. So, and if we open our panel, by the way, this is what my analysis option looks like. So I'm using very, very good analysis, as I said earlier. And then I just kind of like turn this off, this public member API though. It's something important, but then who really cares about like writing? I did so many docs like those stuff. All right, so let me run the project again. You can ask any question while we are waiting for the project to run.
Okay, so now I think you use very good venture to create the project. The project you're running now,
Yes.
I'm not seeing like Flutter icon. Hmm?
You said
Is
what?
that yes?
You said what? Can you come again, please?
I'm asking like, was it a very good venture you used to create the project, like creating of the project itself?
Yes, I
Because it
use.
seems
Yes, I use very good
not
ventures.
Flutter.
No, no, I don't use Flutter Crate. So and final form. And the reason why I do that is this, right? So imagine having to like set up all this stuff like by myself. We will sleep here. I'm sure like if all of you are good, we'll be sleeping here. So it's not like it takes like a whole lot of time, but I mean, why go through the stress when we can just just do this. Um So I go through the stress when we can just have like very good venture just handle the whole thing for us. So and then it kind of like automatically comes with this localization as well. Like I said, in this ARB file, that's where all my stuff resides. Like all my strings, like all the strings that I'm using in the application, this is where all of them are. So that way I don't have like any string literals like lying around. Unless for those strings that I know that is going to change or they are coming from backend. We don't have a route. Interesting. Um, One sec. Let me copy the route. Let me copy the route. Oh, and so okay. I used to use auto router, but for this app, it's just one single page, and we'll just be using our normal stuff. So page, and then I just replace I just replace this with this. Okay. All right. So I will not be using that router. Okay. And I'll just reload. Oh man. Sure. Okay. So we don't really start a gallery client. Yeah. That's register this single time gallery client.
Because of first interrupting this environment, this development, was it the very good venture that created it automatically?
I don't really get you. I can't really get you properly. Can you
Okay,
come in?
can you hear me?
Yes.
So I said, using that very good venture now to create the Flutter project, I said, was it the one that automatically created all those environments for you? The development, production, and the storage.
Yes, this environment variable here. Running that make init creates all this development, this env file for you. So if you look into the code here, so we have echo API BPI base URL, and then we want to like write this into .env.development and so on and so forth. So if we don't have this command, we'll manually go here and then say new file, and we say .env.development. You understand?
Okay.
Yeah. But having this make make file kind of like saves a lot of stress. That we don't have to like worry about. Have to worry about a whole lot of things. All right. So we forgot to add this to our rerun. Okay, so we have the what was it called? The app title here, clean architecture, which is from this localization file, clean architecture, and then we're trying to like get one sec. Oh, right. So we have HTTP blah 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 limit 100. So let's confirm that this what's it called? Visual is correct. Alright, so we have alright. Okay. Oh, okay. So who asked this question the other time and says, what if you get a list instead of like a map? So apparently that is what is wrong. Now you see the what's it called? The API is working fine. You are getting like 100 images, but the code is broken, right? So, and if you look at this, we have connection error. Field of interesting. We're having this kind of stuff here. Let's see what the error is. Okay, now this. Let's do our reload. Okay, so now if you look at this, we are getting our data back. Interesting. All right, so we're getting our data back, and okay, the issue before was a network issue. So this is like our images, and this is from the Bootstrap. Let me put that up. So from the Bootstrap here, we have this block observer, and then we are logging on change, right? Now, if you look at here, you'll see that this is our on change, and then this is like the change. This is the current state. So in the current state, we don't have like any images, and then in the in a coming change, let's say, yeah, and then in the next state, we have a whole lot of images, and these are like the images. They're all random. Voila. Oh man, how long ago was that? I'm having network issues. Apologies. Yeah, can you all see my screen now? All right, great. So this is the app we've been building, and then we have all this, and then if we like click on this, we have the image stuff. I even know is that this is Flutter. All right, so we have this, and then if we scroll to the, if we just keep scrolling, like we just keep getting on, more and more pictures, more and more pictures, more and more pictures. You see, it just keep on loading more and more pictures, more and more pictures. But initially we get like 100 pictures, but the more we keep scrolling, it keeps on loading more and more and more and more. All right, so that's all. I'll be taking questions. Kelechi and Wish.
I want to ask, as we want to add a pagination in these using this retrofit, how will you go about it? Like you want it to kind of show loading when
Oh.
you go to the next page.
Yeah, we did that. We have that already. Let's see. So let me do our hot reload. Now, if I do our hot reload, you see that just keep your eye on this scroll bar. Let's see. My network is really bad.
So
Now you see the height of the scroll bar that we have.
yes.
Yeah. Now, if we keep scrolling, you see that the height is like getting big, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You see?
Okay.
You see now it's like very small. So the more we
Yeah.
keep scrolling, it keeps like getting smaller. So this is how we handle that. If we come to like the feature folder and then gallery and then data and then client and then client and then gallery client. Now, this is like a get request, and then the get request has like a page, right? A page para, and then the page we can specify. Okay, we want the first page, we want the second page, we want the third page, the fourth page, and so on and so forth. So in this case, we have like a get request to this part, right? This is the part that we want because we already set up the page URL of the house, and then we have like our query parameter. This is our query parameter. It's a page, and then it's an int, right? And then we pass all these down from like the repository. The repository also makes use of the page, the current page, to like our repository. Yeah. So even the repository is like asking for that page that you want to get. And then to our use case, if you look at the use case, we're also like, okay, this is our use case. We are returning the list of image model, and then we are asking like whoever is using this use case, like supply us an int, which is like stand for the current page. And then in our qubit, this is like well all the work is done. So this get image, we have get images, right? And then if you look at our state first, so we have like is at end is at end, we set it to like first, and then we have our view state, which is like idle at first. We have our images, which is like an empty list, and then we have our default current index, which is like, let's say current page, right? Current page index, which is one at first. And on every successful call, let's focus on this part. On every successful call, what do? We have view state, the sources, we emit the success state. We have current index, and then we get the current index from the state, and then we add one to it. So that we are incrementing it by one. And then we have is at end, we are checking, it's like the images we get is it less than 100, because if you look at our client here, you see that we set our limits to 100, right? So that means we're getting like 100 picture per page, right? 100 pictures per page. So now we know if the image that we get is less than 100, that means we're already at the end of the page. I mean, there is no point in like incrementing or like making that call again, and then just loading an empty list again, right? So this is the logic that we use to like handle that. Okay, is it at end? That means is the current image that we get, these images, is it less than 100? If it is less than 100, that means we've gotten to the end of the data. But if it is like equals to 100, then we know that okay, we still have more pages, maybe or maybe not, right? So then in this case, we use like spread operator, like images. We want to get the state of images, which is like the current image that we have. And then on top of that, we are adding our image. So if I were to like switch this, then you know that this is a bad logic, right? Because that means the new image we are adding that to like the back of the list, but we want to like add to the front of the list. So we have like images, and then we have our state dot images using the spread operator, and then we spread the image that we're getting as well. Do you understand? All right, great. So and then now this is like one side of the solution. The other side of the solution is here. Yeah, where we have scroll controller. And you know we have to displace our controller, right? And then we have this chain dependency. And then we add a listener to the scroller. That means we want to like know if we are at the end of the scroll position, right? So if we're at the end, that means like if scroll controller the position of pixel, like you know, is like the max scroll extent. That means we're at the end of the old list. We want to like just call context.read gallery qubit dot get images. That means we want to get more images, right? And so this is like what Andrew's like, okay, it's kind of like, you know, we add a listener, so it's listening. It's like every scroll that you make. If you make a scroll, it listens. And then when you get to like the ending of the list, you're like, oh man, this guy's at the ending of the list. And then just like, okay, let me say, let me call this to get like more images, and then you keep on getting more images. My network is like really, really bad. It's able to load image as well. Alright, so we have like context.read, and then it kind of loads more images. So this is how you handle pagination. That is one way to doing it. This is programming. There's like multiple solution. Any other question? Hello, can you guys still hear me? Any other question, please?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
I'm okay. If we are this method of loading, it brings in the new images as you scroll.
Yes.
Let's say so does this prevent someone scrolling out of range? Like,
Yes,
is there a
yes.
guard against scrolling out of range?
Yes, there is. Now, if you look at our qubit again, now we have this boolean is at end, which by default it's a false, right? Like it's false, and then we are checking like on every successful call, we have our list of images. Now, before we add that image to our state, we check is the image length is it like less than 100? If it is less than 100, we know we are at the ending of like of the images. We don't have to like make any other additional call. In this place, we know we don't have to make any additional call. Then we handle that somewhere here and say like state of is processing. Like if it is already processing, or if it is at end, then just return. I mean, we don't want to go further and call all this stuff. So even if we call this get image function, it will just stop at this point because it's already at the ending of like the list. So you can actually scroll above the index of this thing. So this function, this line just have okay, is it processing? That means are we already like having like, you know, we are making a current call. If we're making a current call, then there's no need to like, you know, proceed. Or if it is at the ending of the list, there's no need to like make a call. I mean, it's not necessary. Then we just return, and that means, you know, we don't want to do anything. We don't want to go further. But this function, however, it's listening, right? So it doesn't really care like are you at the end or you're not at the end. So as long as you're at the ending of the list, it will call context.tree.get images. And then this get images will be like, okay, are we at the ending of the list? Yes. Then I'll not go further. There's no need to make any API call. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's okay.
Oh, great. Okay. Nice question. So we have this our scroll controller that add listener. We add it like this chain dependency. So why do we have it we have 50 minutes. So let me read out the question. So Lookman said, what's the difference in putting scroll controller listener in deep change dependency and in init state? Now, okay, what does init state do? Like we know that okay, it's like the initialization point of the state, right? So imagine adding this scroll controller at the like the entry point of this page, right? This controller does not even have any user like at the moment. If you do that, so if we like have like any state and then we say scroll controller dot add listener, we're adding the listener to that scroll controller, but is any widget actually using the scroll controller at that moment? No, it's going to throw an error, right? But this change dependency can see that okay, the old widget has already loaded, right? And then after it has loaded, we want to like add it, want to add a listener to the scroll controller because at that point, this scroll controller has already been attached to like to something at that moment. Do you understand? All right. So in action, we could have something like this. Um, in action, we'll have something like this. Now let me restart. Oh, it still works. Interesting. All right, but from like this thing, from like some years back, it wouldn't work. It throw an error and tell you that you're using like scroll controller has not been attached, and then you're trying to like add a listener to it. So it's just best to like do those kind of stuff inside this chain dependency, just to avoid any unnecessary headache. Any other question? Any other question?
Alright, I think that's all. I'm not seeing any.
All right,
Thank
great.
you. So thank you so much. So can you please push this like this repo and make it public so you can just check it out if you want to just take it or just look at it when you want to practice section
Yeah.
or you need to primary track.
No, it's actually, let me see. I think it's a wait though. I think it's a public repo because it's like a test as I did when about many, let me see. Okay, it's a public repo. It's a public repo.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, it's a test as I
Then
did.
just push it.
Yeah.
Can send me the link, so I'll just share it with them.
Okay. Yeah, I just sent the link to the chat.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
This is think that's all for today. Thanks so much for joining. See you later.